Alright, so we are back for part 2 of this adventure. Doing the soldering on this and doing the mods on this little receiver were not easy. Even with a lot of experience doing soldering and micro repairs, this was probably one of the more difficult things I've done. I would almost rather do mods on a computer, laptop, motherboard than this. But it is finished, and it works. I did have one problem, which is one of these, this one right here, this antenna broke off, and that actually ended up being kind of difficult to repair. The best tool for that is something along these lines, a set of very, very fine micro wire strippers. The problem is, this is a Bluepoint PWC7, which has not been made for a very long time, and I have not been able to find a replacement source for these. So, that was the hardest part, was I ended up breaking off one of the antennas in this process, and I had to resolder it and take care of that. This little wire here, I probably can't see very well, but this little wire here was soldered onto the resistor, and that actually went a lot easier than I expected. The other difficult part was actually cutting the traces. That was a little bit tricky, and it was very important to make good use of a multimeter and to test for continuity and make sure that all those traces were cut before powering anything up. And then when I did power things up, I actually powered it up on the low voltage coming off the battery pack before I powered it up on the boosted voltage, just to be 100% sure. So, let's power everything up. So we have our Fly Sky transmitters powered up, and we're going to go ahead and plug these in, and this is going into, I did modify the battery input. That's what I cut the positive off of the battery input so that it was no longer connected to the center post of the rest of the input pins on this. And then to actually power up the receiver itself, I've got to plug this into another empty slot. Very, very important to make sure that you're plugging everything in with the correct polarity. It's kind of a good idea to know what that is, and be careful with that. So, we're ready to fire up. Right now we have nothing showing on the receiver because it's not powered up yet. So I'm going to go to that page and power up. Boom. And as soon as I do that, we are seeing 3.76 volts. And of course, the Fly Sky is freaking out because that is actually falling in under where I have the alarm set. So right now it thinks that the receiver is being powered up with 3.76 or 7.5 volts as opposed to the boosted 6.6, which is exactly what we want. So it is actually seeing the pack voltage. So to fix that, we go here, hit the receiver button here, and then we go to the receiver setup. We're going to set the alarm voltage for, let's go 3.2. I'm having trouble making it do what I want it to. I don't know why it's not adjusting here. So it would appear that 4.1 is the lowest I can set the alarm voltage to. So it's probably because of low voltage. Let's change the low voltage. Let's put 3 volts in there. Now let's see if I can change this. 3. Perfect. Alright, so the problem was you have to drop the low voltage down. It was freaking out that I wanted to go lower with the alarm voltage than the low voltage. So as soon as I dropped the low voltage down to 3 volts, then I could change the alarm voltage, and now we're no longer freaking out. Probably doesn't matter the high voltage setup, but let's go ahead and change that to 4.2 because it will. Oh, we better do 4. Yeah, we'll do 4.2. In theory, that's as high as it will ever be with a fully charged battery. So, boom. I don't know that alarm voltage is set at a perfect amount. I need to think about that, but we at least have it not freaking out, and it's working the way it's supposed to. And it also sees a reasonable receiver voltage. So the receiver voltage is showing 3.75, which is not fully charged, but it's just below the halfway point. And that's just above the halfway point, so I probably should adjust the high and low voltage to move that into the perfect range. But for now, that's a starting point, and the important thing is everything is working. So we have a little read right here. When you swipe a magnet across it, it's turning it off. The alarm comes on. Swipe the magnet again, turns on, everything's working the way it's supposed to. I'd say that's a success.